2000, so for 14 years already, and even more years in journalism. I'm really very thankful that you have invited me and my colleagues here to represent Barentz Press and Barentz Press Russia. For right now, we are passing through a very hard time for Barentz Press Russia after our leader for more than 20 years, Elena Larionova, went away in July this year, and we had very hard time to see what is going to be further. Well, and of course it was a great loss for all of us, and even such questions as, is Barentz Press Russia over, were asked to me, and no, it is not over, we are going on, life is going on, we shall work, we continue with our projects, and one of the projects I'm going to present here, it is journalism and human rights. Barentz Press really has very wide experience of partner work with the Norwegian Helsinki Committee. You can see our two logos here, with the Norwegian Helsinki Committee in the field of spreading human rights knowledge, because it was seen that it was not enough for people and for students and for journalists to know about human rights issues. So here you can see the list of partners of Barentz Press International, and as I have already mentioned, the Norwegian Helsinki Committee is the main one in our list. And in practice, we deal a lot with Enver Tuliman from Helsinki and Elena Sayenkova from Murmansk. They are our coordinators. And very many seminars were devoted to young journalists and to students of journalism. So Murmansk Humanities Institute and Arkhangelsk State University, Northern Arctic Federal University, Petrozavodsk State University, they are also on the list, as you can see. And there is legal partnership Soyuz from Petrozavodsk, represented by Yelena Paltseva, the lawyer. They are really very good partner because they not only participate in our seminars, and they also provide some lawyer support. It is very important for journalists and non-governmental organizations as well. Well, speaking about our history, the first seminar took place in Murmansk in September 2006, so that's where the history started. And during the years of 2006 and 2010, seminars took place in Murmansk, Arkhangelsk and Oslo. In Oslo, in the House of Human Rights. And I don't know if I calculated right, because Elena Larionova was the coordinator from the beginning. But if I'm right, so there were about 10 or even more seminars all in all in those cities. And in the year of 2010, Karelia entered the project, and by now we have held 12 seminars, and I'll tell maybe more in detail about these seminars. And besides, our working group meets in different cities. You see in Joensuu, Helsinki, Tallinn and Vilnius, and later I'll explain why not in Russia. Well, and I have to add to here that, for example, in Murmansk seminar in April 2011, there were more than 50 young journalists, teachers and students. They took part in the seminar, so it was a big event. And as to the Oslo educational seminars, they happen once a year, and the nearest is going to happen in December this year. And they're usually attended by journalists who were active in the seminars in Russia and who cover human rights issues in their work. And there in Oslo, journalists of Barentz Press Russia, they have conversations with legal experts and investigative journalists and discuss human rights issues there with Norwegian mass media as well. Well, so here I come to a sad page of our history. In December 2008 in Murmansk, there was held an international seminar on human rights issues, and it was organized by the Norwegian Helsinki Committee. And Human Rights Committee of Murmansk region authorities and Barentz Press International were also there as organizers. And among the participants there were journalists, non-governmental organizations, activists, and representatives of the Department of Home Affairs of Murmansk, that is of police. And on the first day of the seminar, the discussion was held by Björn Engisland, Secretary General of the Norwegian Helsinki Committee, and Enver Tuliman, head of the Human Rights Education Program of the committee, and all was well. But next day, the representatives of the police, as well as those two Norwegians, they were absent, and it turned out that the Norwegians were asked to go to the Migration Service office, and in the end they were made to pay a fine and stop their participation in the seminar, and the basis for that was said to be their wrong visas. So, another sad fact happened in 2009 when the Helsinki Committee closed their office in Murmansk because Russian authorities refused registration of it. So that was in September earlier. In September earlier that year, in March, Enver Tuliman was again detained in Murmansk and fined by the migration authorities, so due to technical mistakes in his visas, as it was said. So after that, we couldn't have our group meetings in Russia, and we meet only outside. Well, and here I give a link to the website of Barents Observer describing this event if you are interested in it. So these are our meetings in Joensuu, Finland, August 2010, and in Tallinn. Right, this is Enver Tuliman, and in the left picture in the middle, Yelena Larionova. So here are some examples of speakers invited to participate in discussions, and you can see the names, what journalists participated in the seminars and shared their experience in this work. So issues discussed. Human rights in the international aspect. Can you read it without me? For me not to repeat, I can't hear it well from here, sorry. So these are points to be discussed, and they are really very important for journalists in Russia, ethics in journalism, the rights of journalists, the rights to education and work. These are for students. Well, investigative journalism, not long ago it was something very new for Russian journalists, but now more and more start doing it. Censorship and self-censorship, I don't know if you know this, the last word. Life of emigrants in Norway, it was also discussed. How media and in Russia and Norway write about human rights. Do we defend interests of ordinary people? Tolerance, the attitude toward immigrants and ethnic minorities. So these are pictures showing seminar on human rights in Arkhangelsk, and one of the participants, of the speakers, was Rune Alexandersson, who lived in Arkhangelsk. How much? 2? 1. Okay, I'll show the pictures. So these are meetings in Oslo, and this is a very interesting project. If I have time later, you can come up to me and ask about how to write about people in prison. This was also part of our project. But I have to say especially about project in Karelia, because we made it in form of webinars. It was something new for Barentz Press and for journalists in Karelia and Barents region. And so this is the first seminar, the first webinar when there were journalists from Arkhangelsk, Komi Republic, and Murmansk, and some other cities in Murmansk region. They were online, and the discussion was translated over internet. So you see how we were happy when we started it and the connection was good. So we were really happy. So this is, on the left, this is Anatoly Tsigankov, journalist and the author of this journalistic project. And here in this project we focus on the rights of journalists, because when we speak about access to information for people, if a journalist has access to information, then he can provide this information to his readers or listeners or viewers. And it is very important. And since the legislation in Russia lately have been changing very quickly, very many new points appear, and sometimes working journalists doing their practical work, they are not in the know of some things, and so we decided to make such kind of educational webinars to explain for journalists not to be subjected to some acts from police or from maybe Roskomnadzor, who supervises